All right, so we're going to be talking about how you can keep your account safe and deal with some of the legal stuff that comes up when you're selling on Amazon. And to help us navigate that stuff, because I am not a lawyer and I do not play one on TV, I'm excited to bring on CJ Rosenbaum. So CJ, the Amazon seller lawyer himself, thank you for joining us here on this AMA today.
Kevin, thank you very much for having me. I've been looking forward to this webinar for weeks right now, and I'm really fired up and ready to rock and roll and give whatever information that me and my incredible team can provide and answer. Ask me anything.
Yeah, we will definitely get into that. Now, folks watching, generally we do PPC topics, pay-per-click advertising on this live stream, but just as much as you want to get traffic to your listings and make more sales, you also want to keep your account safe. And sometimes things come up. And this, excuse me, this might be good for me to go over maybe my own little situation here with CJ. So with that, CJ, why don't you introduce yourself while I cough for a second?
Will do. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the founding partner of the greatest law firm on earth when it comes to helping people and companies solve problems on Amazon. The firm was built upon helping individual third-party sellers, large and small, when Amazon would deactivate your listings or deactivate your account or lose a ton of your inventory and refuse to pay you and that sort of thing. But then as sellers, just like you, your businesses matured, you would go out and get brands. And all of a sudden you became the exclusive or semi-exclusive distributor of brands to sell on Amazon. So then we developed brand protection Amazon.com, where we enforce your distribution rights and stop unauthorized sellers. So we play on both sides of the fence, but it all grew from helping sellers just succeed on Amazon and get past the obstacles that Amazon endlessly puts in front of you.
Yes. Yeah. So here's one. So I will be the one to give the first question because this is just within the last 24 hours. So I was selling in Amazon UK. Now this might, you feel free to say this is outside of your specialty, but I was selling in Amazon UK. Cleared out all my inventory there probably sometime around mid-year last year. It was kind of a planned thing. I was done. And then I ended up deregistering my VAT number as the end of October. Well, my account in the UK just got deactivated. So is that something I should even worry about or just,
You know, if you're not going to be selling there anyway, you know, I would try not to cry over spilt milk.
Right.
Right. But this is one of the things, that sort of we deal with on a daily basis. People coming to us after there's an issue. In fact, we create a whole subscription model business so people would call us and not worry about fees in advance. But I would have told you, just keep it open. I don't recall if that actually charges you any type of maintenance or if there are any ongoing costs. But I would have kept it open so that in the future, if you wanted to sell again, you'd have that ability, you know, at your fingertips. But as of right now, if you're not selling there anyway, you don't plan on going back, I wouldn't spend any time or money or stress worrying about it.
Okay, got it. My understanding is it's not going to affect my US account or, you know, other marketplaces where I am selling. But as long as that's the case, then it's kind of like,
Yep. From what we've seen after now it's tens of thousands of sellers, there really should be no effect of getting out of Europe, getting out of the VAT on your ability to sell in the US. There's often some crossover if you were selling European branded products and there were some issues that came up regarding parallel importing or things like that.
no.
But those are really few and far between. So I think you are good to go. And I wouldn't stress over something that chances are will never result in anything negative.
Yes. Yes. All right. Good.
That's the first.
You helped me feel better about the situation. So, folks, if you have a situation, you want either CJ to help you either feel better about it or empower you with the knowledge of what to do, drop those questions down below. And with that, we have a couple folks who have joined us, including LinkedIn user. So LinkedIn user, nondescript name. Go Legends watching here from the Philippines. Well, we're glad to have you, LinkedIn user watching us from the Philippines. Stacy Thompson says, sorry, I didn't realize this was about legal problems. No. It's okay. I don't know how descriptive our thumbnail and title was. So if we didn't mean to lead anyone astray, but we are definitely going to be talking about something that is, I think, very important, because when you're on Amazon, you're dealing with their sandbox. And so as much as we'd like to think we just do whatever we want, but we're in their sandbox and they control a lot of what happens in it. We can, bring what we decide to bring into the sandbox, but it's still their sandbox. Is that a fair analogy there, CJ?
100% accurate. Also, Stacy, a lot of the things that we help sellers with are not necessarily legal in nature, right? So if your account goes down because a you sold is new or a listing goes down, would I really call that a legal issue? No, not at all. But we have a lot of great information to avoid those types of problems. And more importantly, how to, get your listings back, your accounts back if you suffer those. So it's going to be legal, non-legal. In terms of Amazon Sandbox, I think regardless of your personal politics, okay, pro-Trump, anti-Trump, somewhere in between, with the Trump administration, I think the sandbox is going to get larger and larger, and Amazon's ability to control how it conducts business is going to get greater and greater. The whole case the FTC was bringing, antitrust issues, I think those are all going to be gone, certainly for the next 4 years. And whether you are like-minded or not like-minded with the current administration, President Trump is certainly setting up an entire generation of new Republican leaders by putting relatively young people in very powerful positions. So I would say, from my perspective, Amazon's control over your business is only going to increase, I would say, over the next 4 to 8 years. So they own the sandbox, and they're going to be more and more in control. Or not they, it. Amazon.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good point, is because, oftentimes when we talk about Amazon, we're talking about like a specific situation, which might be a team or whatever. But you have to think of Amazon as an entity, which has very nice, very well-intentioned people. But at the end of the day, they're trying to put food on their table, just like we're all trying to put food on the table. And we have certain incentives, and they have certain incentives, and they have certain pressures on them, and they're trying to live with those. So,
hey, Kevin, you mentioned something that's really cool, which most people don't, that Amazon employs tremendous numbers of people who are trying to do the right thing.
Right.
Tremendous numbers. I used to go to India usually at least twice a year. And every time I would try and interview people that worked for Amazon. And we have a whole video thing about inside information from Amazon. And then we started hiring some remarkable people from Amazon. So when Amazon staff closes your listing or deactivates your account, hopefully temporarily, there are human beings behind it who are really trying to do the right thing, first for Amazon, then for Amazon's consumers. But they're not out to crush sellers generally. They really are overall, really good, hardworking people trying to make good decisions. And people really kind of give them a bad rap and think they're all algorithms. They're not. They're real, living, breathing human beings trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one thing, as much as, even on this channel, we tend to say, it's not me versus you, it's all of us against Amazon. But at the end of the day, we're still, working with the beast of Amazon, so to speak. But to your point, there's still good people there that want to do the right thing. And if you compare it to other technology platforms that have more of a shoot first and figure it out on the back end later, like if you've ever advertised on, there's a certain book, and this part of my head, they have a tendency to just suspend people from the advertising account that they have. And I've heard horror stories of people just suspended for sometimes months for nothing. I had a situation where I was being suspended over and over again, and I had a rep for that Bookface company, and the rep said I was using the word "you" too much, because you is aggressive, and we want the platform to be safe. So that just seemed kind of ridiculous to me. I'm like, how else am I supposed to talk to someone in second person other than using the word you? Like, I wasn't saying mean things, you're bad. I was just like, hey, do you want da, 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 da. Like people write ads.
Yeah,
And
we
so
don't
that
see,
happens.
we see Amazon. Listen, when Amazon loses, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of your stuff and refuses to release the money to you, we're adversaries. But the vast majority of issues you're trying to resolve amicably with Amazon within its ecosphere, because that's the fastest, most efficient way to get back to making money. And while Amazon is often very harsh, it is rarely a baseless issue. They've identified something, its staff identified something. You may disagree with it, but there's usually something there. So you're trying to work things out amicably because it's fast and you get back to making money.
Right. That's a good point. And I think ultimately they know that, there is a certain, not hoop you have to jump through, but there's more of a barrier to entry for sellers than there would be like on, if you're creating ads on another platform where you just create ads for drop shipping, you have no real product, you just up and go. Whereas with Amazon, they see you actually have inventory, you're trying. So I think they're more willing to work with sellers than some other platforms are, which at least Amazon will call you back if you ask for a call. That doesn't happen everywhere. All
We're
right.
seeing
So
more and more of that. You brought that up. We're seeing an increase in the amicable resolution of issues. And we see a lot of things that we can't resolve amicably.
right.
Like I just deposed a witness produced by Amazon regarding unsuitable inventory, which a lot of sellers have been accused of having quote unquote unsuitable inventory. And it was mind blowing about the lack of investigation Amazon does, but we're seeing a tremendous amount of faster and increased amicable resolutions of sort of your day-to-day seller problems.
Well, that's good to hear. All right. So folks, if you have questions, drop them into the chat. Some person even asked for permission. Can I ask a question? Please do. That is why we are here. So this works a lot like when you were in high school or college, where what happens in class when the professor says, hey, does anyone have any questions? Everyone sits around and stares at each other. And then one person asks a question, and someone else asks a question. And then all of a sudden there's this energy and everyone's asking questions. And the teacher can't even get to all the questions by the end of the class because everybody waited till the last minute. And also, when there's more questions, what happens is YouTube and whoever else will start recommending more people to the stream, which will just get more questions. So if you want to wait to the last minute to get a question in, you might not get it answered. But right now, you have a very good shot of it getting answered. So I'm going to start going through some of the questions that have come in here. I might skip some of the PPC related questions. Yash says, what are the chances that there goes a lawsuit for copyright infringement? A major player in the industry did a copyright infringement claim on my product, and as a fact, I was not infringing. So what do you do when you're wrongfully accused?
Everybody represents wrongfully accused, baby. Everyone's wrongfully accused. So here's the story. The number of lawsuits that are being filed against sellers went up over the last, I'd say, 12 to 18 months. But now, most likely, they're going to diminish tremendously. Why? Okay, well, the vast majority of cases were brought in the federal courthouse in Chicago. It's called the Northern District of Illinois. And the judges in that building would sign like 99.8% of all the temporary restraining orders against Amazon sellers, okay, because they were a rubber stamp. Whenever you put in front of these judges, they would stamp and freeze everybody's accounts. Well, what's going on? I think the judges got a little bit tired of the abuse that was going on. So what the judges are now shifting is to requiring the brand, the copyright owners, to provide links between all the different people that they want to sue. So I think the lawsuits overall, this cottage industry of suing 20, 30, 200, 900 sellers at the same time
Oh God,
is
so
going
scary.
by the wayside. Okay. So I think the number of lawsuits are going to go down. If you do get sued, Yash, if I'm pronouncing your name right, if anyone does get sued, you must respond to that lawsuit. No ifs, ands, or buts. You have to respond, or you will end up with a default against you, and they're usually in the six figures. Okay. The number one thing you need to know is that if you get sued, you have to have a lawyer represent you, or you're just going to get nailed on default and you're going to owe a ton of money that could be executed against any asset in the United States for 20 years. Okay. But overall, the claims should decrease. They've already started to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're one of the unfortunate few that get sued, and it is still very, very rare, you got to respond to that lawsuit.
Got it. All right. So how do you, once you respond to it and the lawyer responds to it, like kind of like what happens from there? I'm sure is probably what Yash is thinking.
The vast majority resolve within 30 to 60 days. The vast majority, because they would have these huge nets that would freeze all of your assets when only a minute portion had anything to do with, in this question, the alleged copyright infringement. Okay. So what we would do, we wouldn't actually answer the lawsuit because that puts you in a position where you're now stuck in litigation. We would ask the court to dismiss it, to release you from the temporary restraining order, and also immediately contact a lawyer to the other side to work out a resolution right away. Usually within 2 to 3 days of being retained, we are taking immediate steps to get the seller out of the lawsuit as quickly and cheaply as possible, often for no money. Okay. The vast majority of the money that's made on these lawsuits are against the sellers who are located in China who never respond. They end up with the defaults, and the plaintiff's lawyers start grabbing the money in their accounts. So as long as you respond, you're in a significantly better position.
Okay, got it. So
was that a lot? Was that too much for like one mouthful?
No. That's actually fascinating. So basically, and that might actually make people feel a little better in general of some of the stuff that's happening, is that you have these sellers from China or wherever who are just blatantly, selling Prada handbags or something like that. And they're not actually Prada handbags. So they're infringing on a copyright and they're being sued. They're not responding. So money that they're making is being taken from them.
Yes. So let's use your example, Prada, for example. Prada sees there's 100 sellers selling, fake Prada bags, right? So what they do is they would normally go into the court in Northern District of Illinois, don't tell anybody, sue all 100 sellers, all in the same lawsuit. We call it a Schedule A because you put all the names on Schedule A, right? Ask the court to issue an order directing Amazon and all the other platforms to freeze all of their assets, all of their money, even assets and money that have nothing to do with the sale of counterfeit Prada bags. Out of those 100 sellers, maybe 1 or 2 actually respond to the lawsuit. So that would be you, because you're going to respond. And since you stand out, it makes it very usually easy to get you out of the case quickly and cheaply, often for no money.
Meaning you don't have to settle with the.
Correct. A lot of times the settlement is based upon the actual number of sales, right? But if you had no sales, you never sold a counterfeit product, right? So there's really no financial damages. And again, the lawyers who are bringing these cases, they're making their money on all the accounts that never respond. So when they get that default against them, right? They'll say they get $100,000 default against 98 sellers. They take those judgments, they go to Amazon, they say, give us whatever money you have. So Amazon will then have roughly up to 2 weeks of distributions that Amazon turns over to try and fulfill that judgment. That's where these lawyers make their money, not after the people that respond. The people that hire us to respond to them are a pain in their asses, and they want to get rid of us so they can focus on the defaults.
Got it. So they just want to deal with the no friction. So, okay, you're going to be friction, so just go away.
Yes. Vast
I
majority of
never would
cases.
have thought of something like that.
Exactly.
So, we use the example of like counterfeit handbags, but what if it's something that's not counterfeit at all? Is it kind of the same thing where it's like, whether let's say you have your own product and it's just similar, and they're like, well, that looks too similar to our handbags, so we're going to say it's a copyright. Is this the same process?
It generally is. It would all depend on if it's in litigation, the number of sellers sued. Okay. And unless it's a large number, it won't end up in litigation. If you are accused through other methods of selling counterfeit or copyright violation or trademark, or the different types of patents or patents if you're outside the US, right? And your products are genuine, you still want to negotiate a resolution that makes sense financially. Okay. But you're negotiating from a position of strength rather than weakness if the claims against you are false.
Gotcha. All right. Good to know. All right. So Joyce Howard asks, brand was told by SAS manager to file trademark complaints on sellers on an ASIN that's enrolled in their brand registry because they want sellers to move to an ASIN they created and have editing rights. They communicated all of that in the email. Obviously false. What can we do to force retraction?
Got it. So here's
what's an SAS manager? Amazon account manager of some sort, maybe?
I'm not sure what the SAS refers to.
Okay.
But the overall issue is that brand protection used to be more like what Joyce is describing, right? Like I have Aquafina water, right? And I'm Aquafina and I have Aquafina listings. Get off my listing, go sell someplace else, right? But that became passe pretty quickly, where Aquafina is like, we don't want our products being sold on any listings. So you're not just going to get off our listing. We're going to take control of all the Aquafina listings. We don't want you selling Aquafina. Say, make a complaint against you, right? So now you got to say, okay, I'm a third-party seller. Can I keep selling Aquafina water without their okay? And the analysis comes under a body of law called the first sale doctrine. Okay. Most sales are protected. You can buy and sell branded products without the brand's okay, as long as your sales are protected by the first sale doctrine. Well, what does that mean, right? Well, that means that when the consumer receives the product, the consumer is receiving all the same benefits that the consumer would receive from an authorized seller. Okay. So now it's like, all right, I'm good to go. Well, what is the brand saying? The brand's saying, I need to build something into my product that an unauthorized seller cannot possibly deliver. Okay. So water, what kind of warranty can you do? Not really anything, right? But the water could be stored in a certain way that maintains the limited amount of plastic going into my water, right? So maybe the brand has special storage options it can use, or post-sale marketing, like you buy water from us, we'll send you a coupon for 3 more waters, sort of thing. So it's a constant sort of cat and mouse. The seller wants the sales protected by the first sale doctrine. The brands want to provide something to the consumer that unauthorized sellers cannot provide, and therefore it's an exception to the first sale doctrine, and you can't sell. And it's a constant battle.
Got it. Okay. Viper 1213 says, "Hola." Well, hello to you, Viper 1213. All right. So Taki asks, what is the solution for the utility bill verification? Even when we provide everything, utility bill, Amazon is not willing to accept. So this is probably like setting up an account, and you have to provide some sort of documentation to prove that you are who you are, so to speak.
Well, let me just first, I'm a little self-conscious that I'm not all clean shaven and in a button-down shirt and that kind of stuff.
If we had done this yesterday, I wouldn't have been very clean shaven.
It would have been scruffy. Yeah, my little guy Max is sitting right across the table. You might have seen
him.
Max. What's up, Max? What? You might have seen him on Good News for Sellers a few years ago. So it's President's Week break. So we're going skiing tomorrow. We've been hiking in the woods and stuff. But in any event, so here's the story, Taki. This is what you're facing. We stopped helping sellers with the verification because there was really nothing that we added to the value. You need to take every bit of information that you provided to Amazon when you open the account and literally print it out, lay it on your table, and look for discrepancies. Like maybe you have like Taki Smith is your name, but on one of the bills it says like Taki R. Smith. And on another document, you have an address of 53 Main Street, which is my office here in Sydney, New York, right? But on another document, it says 53 East Main Street. So it might not be the utility bill unless there's something different on it. So look at everything and try and find the discrepancy. And when you do that, you identify what you found to Amazon in the form of a plan of action, okay? And that usually solves the issue. There's something different that Amazon is picking up on between all the information you provided and the documents. There's something there. I've never seen a case where there wasn't something different that was triggering the problem for you, and it's ridiculous and it's silly. We've even seen the problem arise from having multiple email accounts, right? And most of us have like at least our business one and our personal one, right? So like I have CJ at AmazonSellersLawyer.com. It doesn't really go to me anymore. It goes to sort of our intake staff. And then I have my personal and private ones that like my buddies send me stuff that I don't want Max to see, right? But look for something different in what you provided to Amazon, and that'll most likely solve your verification issue. You can also request a video verification to get past it, but there's some discrepancy in what you provided to Amazon.
Got it. Okay. So point being, there's something that's off. And could you just explain it to them in a letter? Like I could also see, and correct me if I'm wrong, where it's like you have a bill that says you live at, 1234 Main Street, apartment B. And then something else, it says you live at Unit B, 1234 Main Street. Could they get hung up on something like that?
100%. 100%. We've seen it dozens and dozens of times. And all we would do is print everything out, put it on a table and look for it. You can do that yourself. Find the discrepancy. It could be even like 123 Main Street and the other says Unit B. One does, one doesn't. There's your discrepancy.
And so what, you just write basically a plan of action? Like plan of action, oftentimes you're saying that you were in the wrong and you're going to fix it. Like,
no,
how do you word something
fault.
like that?
Never admit fault unless you are totally busted and you know it and Amazon knows it and know Amazon knows it, okay? Never admit fault. That information comes out of like 2016, 2017. It's bad. It's old. Don't do it unless you did something really wrong and you are certain Amazon is aware of it. And that's why Amazon is holding it against you. Otherwise, plan of action, root cause of the problem. Okay. My bills don't seem to, some discrepancy in my bills, immediate corrective action. What did I immediately do? I printed out every single thing that I sent to Amazon and I identified the problem. Long-term solution doesn't really fit, but this is the plan of action format. Long-term solution, I'm going to make sure that every single document that pertains to my life has the exact same spelling of my name, exact same address, exact same email, so that Amazon is never concerned about my identity ever again. There's your POA.
Okay, got it. Now, would you suggest people actually do follow up with like, okay, the electric company has a slightly different formatting of your address than say the power or the water company?
Yes. Yes. Okay. All possible. If everything has Unit B in it, make Unit B on everything.
Okay. Got it.
Everything has East Main Street rather than Main Street. Make sure you get that. Everything is E or the word East spelled out across the board. And as you open up new accounts or like, you change from Verizon. This is my mom and dad. My dad has since passed. Oh, I love this picture because they're super happy because they got bagels and pizza from New York.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that. It's my favorite picture of my parents.
That's awesome.
But as you go forward, as it becomes easier as you open up new accounts. Make sure everything matches as closely as possible.
Awesome. And then Taki also just wanted to throw out there, you guys all love Alex Hermosi, $100 million leads. You must see the book right there on the shelf. So good call there, Taki. You got us. Yes, we do. We do. A big fan of Alex Hermosi. Shout out to Hermosi Nation. Joyce Howard confirmed a couple things. International brand and account manager, I guess the SAS thing we were talking about. They don't have editing rights on the ASIN. They filed the complaint against and are asking us to just move inventory to an ASIN they created. Both are enrolled in their brand registry. Is that a true trademark violation? So the brand wants you're on this listing, but they want you to move to another listing. Is that a trademark violation?
You probably did not violate anyone's trademark rights. However, I would, unless it's going to cost you a lot of money, okay, and also look at your, risk versus reward, I would go ahead and do it. But look at the dollars and cents. Are all the sales coming because you're on their quote unquote listing, right? Mm-hmm. If that's true, then you want to write back, hey, my sales are good under the first sale doctrine, go jump in a lake. If it's not going to cost you money, your sales is going to be just as good, then maybe you want to avoid the problem. Okay. You don't have to fight every battle.
Right.
Okay? It's all risk versus reward.
Nobody can tell me what to do.
Yeah. Look, follow the money. Okay. We are all in this to make money and a lifestyle and support for our family. Okay. Max is on his iPhone. He wants me to pay that bill. Right. Sure. So look at risk versus reward. Don't needlessly fight battles if you're not making more money on it. None of this stuff is going to make the world a brighter place or a worse place. Follow the numbers. And then if it makes sense to stay on that listing, then look up the first sale doctrine and write back, say, hey, Slappy, okay, my sales are protected under the first sale doctrine. And if you disagree, tell me why. Yeah.
Awesome. That's put the onus on them a little bit. And sometimes too, like you said, like, is it worth the battle? Like if you're about to restock and you're just send it instead of this ASIN to this ASIN, like, does it really matter if you're going to make the same amount of money? It's not going to affect how much you're getting in the buy box, but maybe you do want to fight it. So
you can even do A/B testing, like temporarily put some goods on that other ASIN and see how it does.
That's true. That's true. Maybe the other ASIN performs better over time.
It has less competition.
So we've got Canes Cats Heat 305. Clearly someone joining us from Miami. The University of Miami Hurricanes. I'm not sure about Cats, but Miami Heat basketball, and 305 is the area code in case people aren't familiar. Good afternoon. Thoughts on doing FBM over FBA? I've moved away from FBA due to them losing inventory and the amount of fraud through FBA. I've got my own thoughts, but let's hear the attorney's thoughts.
That's so funny because I was going to say, I know you got information on this and maybe you want to jump on it.
Well, the thing I would say is, and this is probably somewhat up CJ's alley, is that the changes coming up here with Amazon's reimbursement policy could adversely affect sellers to some degree, just because if you think about it, they have less of an incentive to not lose your inventory because they're just going to be paying you based on what your cost of the goods are. Although I looked at the ones for my products and most of them were fairly generous. Like they were, if I was to submit invoices, it probably wouldn't be as good. So I don't know. Let's just say that's not a battle I want to pick with them right now.
I don't like the changes because, historically when Amazon lost your inventory, okay, you would get FBA sale price, less FBA cost as if you sold your merchandise.
Yeah.
So reimbursing your cost from your wholesaler, right? And then that potentially being challenged by Amazon that you overpaid or your documents aren't sufficient.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of the change. Not one bit.
No, I'm not either. And you think about it too, like you're also now eating the inbound placement fee, the cost of shipping to get it to Amazon. Let's say those units were in there for 7 months. So whatever storage fees you had along the way, potentially long-term storage fees, and it's like, sorry, we lost it.
Yeah.
That to me, I have a feeling that one's going to end up getting challenged.
I think it will get challenged, but I think the challenge is going to fail. Okay. I think where sellers will succeed under the new policy is going I think the problem's really you're not gonna win changing the contract that Amazon imposes upon you. It's a really hard argument to win. Where the money is going to be recovered is in the sourcing documents, and I think what Amazon's going to do is going to make it harder to satisfy it about how much you paid. Like, let's take, remember N95 masks, right? Well, if Amazon loses a bunch of masks right now, you're going to be really freaking happy if you bought them during the pandemic because the costs were through the roof, right? But is Amazon going to pay that? I don't think so, right? So you're going to end up in arbitrations against Amazon to recover the money it owes you, but you are going to be limited to the new policy, which are your costs. And that's really not particularly good for sellers.
Good point. And then the other thing I would just bring up about FBM over FBA is Amazon loves to have control, which we're kind of alluding to in this whole conversation. And so FBA, they have more control over the fulfillment process. FBM, because it's the merchant fulfilling, they have less control, although they seem to be moving the direction of more and more control over even the FBM process. But from a standpoint of ranking and whether or not, if you're sharing the buy box, whatever the case is, you're more likely to have more sales if you're doing FBA than FBM in almost all categories, unless everyone else is selling FBM because it's like furniture and the cost to store at Amazon is cost prohibitive, and Amazon's fulfillment fees don't make as much sense as maybe like another company. But outside of that, for the most part, FBA is going to be the better route.
It's also, we see a ton of deactivations because listen, fulfilling orders is not particularly easy. Okay, especially as your volume increases.
Yeah,
it just gives you more chances to make mistakes, both accidentally or on purpose. Like, you all of a sudden you start putting in tracking numbers that really are not legit because you need to just put a number in there. So it all comes down to the same thing, making money and risk versus reward. If you can really nail down an FBM method, either yourself, your own systems, hiring your own staff and creating more jobs, or a fulfillment center, God bless you and go for it. But you're also now facing certain issues that you just don't face when you're doing FBA because it's Amazon systems that are in place.
All right, good stuff. Next up, Tassin asks how to get rid of hijackers without a test buy. I think that's like purchasing the product for a run registered product. Checkers from China and test buy will take very long. Okay, so the issue is they have a hijacker. They must be in China, and it takes forever to get the product from China if you even get it. So you do a test buy, and then you're just sitting there waiting for the test purchase to arrive. How do you resolve that one?
All right, this goes right into our brand protection business. Brand protection, Amazon.com. That area of our firm is managed by my incredible partner, Rob Siegel, and a team and systems that we've developed now over, close to 7 or 8 years. So if you build something into your product that a hijacker cannot deliver, you legitimately do not need a test buy. Okay, so let's go back to my headset here. Right? I love the bone conduction headsets. I got the Open Moves. I got the ones from Walmart, which I kind of like better, right? And let's, for example, say that the warranty said that there's a problem here. If it's bought from an authorized seller, it goes back to the factory to be brought back up to factory specs. An unauthorized seller has no access to the factory. Wusthof Cutlery does this remarkably well. You buy one of their knives and it becomes loose, right? That's a warranty that nobody else can match. Okay. Or you buy this in this post-sale marketing that you receive, which is another category, right? So you build something and then you don't really need a test buy because regardless of the product delivered, it is outside the protections of the first sale doctrine. Okay.
Got it. So
that's a way of doing it. And as you're developing your brand, Tassin, you want to make sure that the products and the brands that are successful, you can't lose sales to hijackers. And if they are specifically located in China, chances are it is a small, lightweight, easy to ship product. Okay. So you need to do something. Could be your packaging, your warranty, the post-sale benefits. It could be what happens when something goes south. So I would look at those things to develop a method of knocking those sellers off without the test buy. Get it outside the protections of the first sale doctrine. And if you want more information, give us a shout out, and either me or my partner Rob will take a look at it to see what you need to do your brand protection. It's also referred to as enforcement, brand enforcement. Okay. That's what you want to start building into your brand as soon as you start having some success.
Okay, good deal. All right, Mohammed asks, if a seller uses copyrighted images, descriptions, or other protected content, they may face legal action or account suspension.
100% yes.
Okay, yeah.
100%.
How do you know if it truly is copyrighted or not?
Whoever created that listing, if they copied the image from the internet, they copied and pasted the verbiage, they have violated somebody's copyright. 100%. 1000%. So you know whether you violated someone's copyright because you did not create it yourself. Now, if somebody else created the listing and they did copyright infringement by scraping stuff from the internet, okay, in some states in the United States, you just being on the listing is an infringement. In other states, it's not. You know, the laws in all 50 states are not exactly the same.
Right.
Okay. So again, if you receive the complaint, look at whether you are or are not making enough money that the dispute is something that you want to engage in. If it is, then you want to identify whether you did or did not. And if you did, change the listing, get rid of the copyrighted information, create your own verbiage, get your own pictures taken.
What if you're on the opposite side of that equation? You notice someone else is using your images and verbiage and whatnot.
Shooting fish in a barrel. Okay. Now, so we can immediately make the copyright complaint. It is immediately valid, but the seller then could change the listing to correct that problem. So it's not a be all and end all. It's not going to put you out of business forever. And Rob and his team are the best in the world at protecting brands and stopping unauthorized sellers. Now, what we generally do is we try and resolve things amicably. So let's say Mohammed was selling Manic Panic is one of our brands. Okay, for example, it's a hair dye company owned by these two absolutely remarkable women, incredible business people. And so Mohammed steals one of their images, creates a Manic Panic, listing, right? We'd reach out to him, hey, Mohammed, we represent Manic Panic, and you got to stop. We don't want to take steps that might put your business at risk, but you can't do this anymore. And usually Mohammed would look us up, reach out, be like, hey, I didn't know. Okay. We try and resolve things amicably. But if you are just taking other companies' images and verbiage, you're just leaving yourself wide open.
Yeah, be very careful on that side of the equation. All right. Lauren Fettergreen asks, and we might need a little more context on this one. Amazon's AI bot broke an ASIN, multiple support tickets, no results, been told for 2 months, leadership, quote unquote, would call to help fix. No call. It's destroying my business. Is there a legal remedy? Okay, so Amazon makes changes to your listing and it's adversely affecting you, and it doesn't seem like they made sense, whatever changes they made. I hear about that happen quite a bit.
No significant claim against Amazon. No claim that's going to be worthwhile bringing. So your contract with Amazon, most people refer to it as the terms of service. It's actually called the business solutions agreement, but who cares? Your
TOS.
And all the policies and, whatever. It doesn't really matter what you call it. It limits the damages against Amazon to direct damages. And you're suffering from Amazon changing a listing, your lost sales are collateral. So you're never going to recover it against Amazon. Okay, when Amazon loses your inventory, that's a direct damage. But it is Amazon's sandbox. You don't own the listings. Amazon owns all the intellectual property rights and all the systems behind it. So I would try and find another way of skinning this cat. And lawyers make a lot of money by suing people. Lawyers make a lot of money by analyzing and, you're never going to succeed on that claim. So if anyone tells you otherwise, get me on the phone. I will talk to you for free. So I hate when people get steered wrong. You're never going to recover on that. Figure out a way of getting back to business in an amicable fashion. Okay. And I don't really buy that this whole leadership thing. Amazon staff is given a lot of latitude to do their jobs and how the individual team member thinks is best. And that's how Amazon is so innovative. Okay. I suspect someone wrote you something, even though it came from Amazon, they'll probably wrong. I don't think this is a leadership issue. I think there's something else going on there. Maybe one of your competitors is messing around with the listings a bit, but I think you'd be given false information. I don't think it's right.
Yeah, and if you're having issues with Amazon having the wrong information, sometimes you just have to use, as I would use the term, brute force, and just keep submitting more and more claim tickets of like, hey, this was changed. Don't say you guys did it, you're wrong. Just say this was changed. This is how it should be, so that the customer has a more accurate product description, so they can make a better decision on the Amazon platform. We respectfully request that Amazon changes the listing to X, Y, and Z, and it gives substantiating reasons why. Like, the listing was changed to say it's 30 ounces, but it's really 50 ounces, or whatever the case is. Prove that.
I'd also give you another alternative to take a look at, right? My water bottle is half full. It's half full. Maybe this is a great opportunity to create a new listing, make sure it's not duplicative, to create a new listing that might be a fresh slate for you, depending on the product and the sales and the PPC and all the other things that go into it, right? But take a step back, get off the treadmill, stop banging your head against a wall, right? And think it through.
Yeah, there might just be another solution to it. It's frustrating. We've all been there, where you feel like you're just getting these answers that go around in circles. And so just as Amazon's employees have a lot of latitude to do whatever they think is the right thing, is sometimes you get to the right person that they believe you, and then at that point you just stop because they fixed it for you. But sometimes getting to that right person can take a while, because sometimes Amazon's employee thinks the right thing to do is just get through more support cases in an hour, because that's the pressure that's put on them.
Yeah, agreed. There's a tremendous amount of pressure. Lauren, also, Lauren, like, you're destroying your business. Your business isn't selling a particular product. You have become very skilled at selling, right? So this is a pivot just like anything else. So I don't believe that any one thing can destroy your business, because your business is all the skills and intellect that you've developed. So again, look at the glass as half full, take a step back. Maybe it's time to move on to a different product, different listing, different mechanism. Nothing should be able to destroy your business.
Got it. Looks like Lauren gave us a little bit more context. The change has caused an issue with how the data is feeding the ad console and changed the GL codes. The company, or the reviews, are miscalculating. They have admitted that some changed and they aren't fixing it. That's going to be a hard one to argue if reviews are calculating incorrectly. I'm assuming there's probably a parentage here, and then maybe there's different parent or different child products that aren't on it. Yeah, but that's frustrating, but especially with reviews, like, it's almost like you're better off just talking to a brick wall. I hate to say that. Feel free to join our Friday AMA with Noah. He might have a better solution than CJ and I do, but I don't see that one necessarily going any farther. So, all right. Next up, WW says, I have an LLC. I'm not a resident. What are the best bank for my LLC? So somebody who's out of the country and they need to get a US bank, how do they do that? And whether or not you have an actual name of a bank you recommend.
Gotcha. WW, were you able to obtain a US EIN number for your LLC? An EIN number for the Americans, it's like your social security number for your business. Okay. So if you have your EIN number, any bank it should be no big deal. Okay. They may want a U.S. address. Okay. But it was much harder for you to get the EIN through the United States, called the Internal Revenue Service, than it will be to go to a bank. I tend to like the bigger banks that while they screw you on fees and this sort of thing, their systems just work better with like, Xero or QuickBooks Online or the big bookkeeping or the other things you want to hook up. So I tend to lean towards B of A, Citibank, Chase, Wells Fargo, sort of the big chain banks. But the number one thing is you can't get a bank without an EIN number for that, your entity.
Got it. Now, if they need an address, does a registered agent work for that?
The registered agent usually has to do with service or process if you get sued. Easier would be like one of the cheaper virtual offices. So in order to practice law in the Northern District of Illinois in Chicago, the local rules require an office there, right? So what do? I got an office on South Michigan Avenue overlooking the lake. It's beautiful. It cost me $99 a month. And if any judge should ask, how often are you there? I'm there just about as often as I'm in my New York office, right? Just about the same, which is very rarely. I work from all sorts of places. But if they want a local address, then go ahead and get a virtual address that you can get mail to. And since you're outside the United States, use one where they can actually take the mail and scan it and email it to you. But your number one step is probably not the address. It's getting the EIN number, EIN.
Got it. All right. Taki asks, I understand you guys are Amazon geeks. I'll take that one. But however, any solution for Walmart termination because of high refund rate? Oh, do you have much experience with Walmart?
We have more and more. I guess back in right before the pandemic, you had a lot of people talking about how, so it's like 2020, 2021 or so, right? That Walmart was the Amazon of 2016, where you can, incentivize reviews. There were a better ratio of sellers versus sales, and everyone's talking Walmart. And many sellers did go on to Walmart, and we have handled a number of terminations and deactivations on Walmart. I don't know whether we've handled anyone for a high refund rate, but that's a big problem wherever you're selling because it makes the platform look really poorly. I would suggest that you identify using Amazon Speak. What's the root cause of your high refund rate and address it? If it's the product, stop selling that product. If it's your systems, fix your systems.
Or is there a problem with the transportation of the product? For example, is it a glass and it's just in a, kind of thin cardboard box? Well, maybe it needs to be wrapped with bubble wrap or something like that. So, think through what is causing that, because I can almost guarantee if you have a high refund rate for a particular product, there's a reason. And it's not just I'm just going to be mean to the seller and return it. There's probably a reason. And oftentimes platforms, which I assume Walmart is the same as Amazon, they're looking at across similar products. Shoes would have a higher refund rate than spatulas. And so they're not going to compare them the same, I would imagine, but they're going to look at for that particular type of category. All right. So this might be our last question, or maybe one of the last ones. Mohammed Anzal asks, sales tax collection. With the increasing scrutiny on online sales tax, Amazon has had to implement tax collection systems in different regions, but sellers still struggle to understand how tax is calculated and whether they are compliant with local laws. There are disputes over whether Amazon or the seller is responsible for certain taxes. Generally speaking, Amazon handles it, and I can't think of a state that they don't. Maybe I'm wrong. But are there any thoughts you have with marketplace sales tax?
Yeah, it is an unsolvable problem. Don't lose any sleep over it. Amazon is handling the vast majority of the issues. So here's what happened. By the way, I got so pissed off that Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Trump, and others weren't paying any taxes. So I started saying, why am I paying all these taxes? And how can I help my clients legitimately lower their tax burden? And I read a book called Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright, who I adore. And he has great theories. But to me, it was missing some of the substance. So then I enrolled at Villanova Law School. I went back to law school at 54 years of age. And it's can I curse?
Sure.
It's a shit ton harder now, right? So now I have what's called an LLM in tax. Okay, it's like a master's degree in tax for lawyers. So here's the story. There was a case called Wayfair that came out 2018, 19, right around there. And it basically said that wherever sales occur, if the goods are delivered into a state, you owe sales taxes in that venue. But it's not just a state. We have 50 states. There are almost 10,000 different sales tax jurisdictions, right? So I'm sitting right now in Sydney, New York, and if I walk across the street and I buy candy, right, it might be taxed as food, right? Or it might be taxed as a non-food, right? But if it were food, it wouldn't be taxed, which might be different in Masonville down the block, right? So what Amazon started to do, and it was required to do, is to just handle the overall big picture. Okay, there's no way that any seller is going to collect and pay and file sales tax documents in every place where its goods ends up. So I wouldn't lose sleep over it. It's an unsolvable problem. Is there potential liability for not filing sales tax in Sydney, New York, or Hancock, New York? Yes, it exists. But it's an unsolvable problem. I don't think anyone's going to get hurt now that Amazon is handling the vast majority of the issues.
Got it. All right. So this might be our last question here, but why would someone hire a lawyer versus going with a consultant?
It depends on the issue. So number one, I would say on the vast majority of issues, it is better to hire me and my team because we have responsibility and liability that comes with the license of practicing law, even if we're helping you with a non-legal issue, where if you go someplace else, and there are a lot of fly-by-night people out there, I don't think you're getting that sort of same protection. If it has anything to do with like intellectual property right complaints, then I think you really would be remiss not hiring someone who knows intellectual property law inside and out, right? So do you really need to hire a lawyer for a used sold as new or a tracking number? No, you really don't. I think my team is the best in the world. If it has anything to do with, we talked a lot about copyright complaints or a trademark complaint or a patent issue, or Amazon is refusing to release money to you for lost inventory, and the next step is to take Amazon to arbitration, that's really where you need a law firm. And not only mine is the largest, the best, the fastest. I built the firm with like full transparency. If we think we can help you, that is only when we will offer to help you. Other people are going to take your money left, right, and center. So I've built a tremendously qualified team. And that's what I know what you get with my firm. With other firms, I can't make the same thing. So I think that's why we are the best, and you should hire us if you need help, or at least contact us. And if I think that you can help yourself, like the verification issues, I won't take the case. We will not take your money because we don't add value to it, and nobody else will. So that's why I think my law firm in particular is the best in the world. Thank you for that layup question. That allowed me to really
awesome
team out a lot.
Well, if somebody wanted to either hire you or learn more, where would they go?
Amazon sellerslawyer.com. Sellers is plural, lawyer is singular. We recently rebuilt the site, so our case submission button should be working 24/7. When it's like, New Year's Eve or Christmas Day or Thanksgiving, I'm always the guy covering because our staff has off. Otherwise, it's generally my incredible team. But right at AmazonSellersLawyer.com, you can submit your case 24/7, and it will be looked at by I'm blessed to have just a fantastic team behind me. Blessed, absolutely blessed.
Awesome. Well, definitely recommend folks go check out AmazonSellersLawyer.com. I've gotten to know CJ over the last few years. He is a straight shooter, nice guy, and he does have that reputation. So with that, thank you again, CJ, for coming on and sharing your knowledge, and thank you everybody for joining in.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. Really enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.